There are 4 quarterbacks in my top 10. How many more are going to go in the second half of Mock 1.0? Mel Kiper Jr. is itching to hear the rest of my round 1 mock for my first mock draft of the year. That is coming up. Plus, we're responding to your questions, your takes, and your draft dreams live as First Draft starts right now. Welcome back into First Draft. We are live on the NFL on ESPN YouTube channel, also on ESPN2, and wherever you get your podcast. Alongside Mel Kiper Jr., I am Field Yates. And a quick reminder before we say hello to Mel that from now until the new year, First Draft is with you every Wednesday at noon Eastern on the NFL on ESPN YouTube channel, and later that day on ESPN2. For all of our breakdowns from the season, shows you may have missed, scan the QR code at the bottom of your screen to access the entire First Draft YouTube playlist. Mel, we ran through top 10 last week. We've got 11 through 32 to run through today. After staring at the mock for it's got to be at least a week straight. Any thoughts on that top 10, which we will re-reveal in just a moment?
Yeah, a lot of quarterbacks, but a couple left out, particularly one field. And I said, hey, I'm anxious to see where you have Drew Allar, quarterback Penn State. He's got weapons around him this year. Now he loses Tyler Warren, but he's got 2 tight ends. He's got 3 new wide receivers, a great offensive line, and 2 outstanding running backs that ran it back in 2025 to try to do what Ohio State did last year. So I can't wait to see where Drew Allar is penciled in this mock first-round projection.
By the way, Mel, it was nice to get a little taste of college football this past weekend, week 0, which of course began out in Dublin, Ireland, as Iowa State gets the best of Kansas State in a very competitive game, by the way. I felt like the first half of that game, or first quarter of that game, was a remix of Notre Dame and Georgia Tech last year, where the weather was bad and nobody was scoring any points, but they eventually found their footing, literally and figuratively, had a fun game out there in Dublin. All right, so without further ado, round 1 of the 2026 Field Yates Mock Draft 1.0 is officially open.
So it is my pleasure to declare the mock draft officially open. The pick is in.
All right, Mel, very quickly, let's recap my top 10 from last week. The first 4 picks, and a reminder, there were 2 trades I orchestrated. I didn't worry too much about compensation. I just wanted teams at the top that I thought would be taking quarterbacks. But the Browns took Arch Manning. The Jets, in a trade up from 4 to 2, take Lenoris Sellers. The Saints, in a trade up from 5 to 3, take Cade Klubnik. The Giants take Peter Woods at 4. The Titans take Caleb Downs at number 5. The Panthers take Keldrick Falk at number 6. The Raiders take Spencer Fano at number 7. The Patriots take TJ Parker, an edge rusher from Clemson, at number 8. Number 9 is the Rams, via the Falcons taking Sam Leavitt, quarterback out of Arizona State. And last but not least, the Seahawks at pick number 10 take Anthony Hill Jr., the do-everything linebacker from Texas. And Mel, you just heard the chime. So the pick is officially in. And with the 11th pick in the 2026 Field Yates Mock Draft 1.0, the Indianapolis Colts select Drew Allar, quarterback, Penn State. I finally wanted to make you happy, Mel. Obviously, as you and I know, Daniel Jones enters this season as the starter for the Colts. He's on a 1-year contract. Mel, maybe I am being too quick to give up on Anthony Richardson, but it sure feels like the Colts have just about given up on Anthony Richardson after he was unable to win the starting job this year. He has been inconsistent and unhealthy throughout much of his first 2 seasons, Mel. It all feels like this is trending towards a team that's going to press reset at quarterback. What do you make of the concept of the Colts taking a quarterback and also the idea of Allar going number 11 over?
Personally, I don't think he'll be there. I think it sets up so perfectly for Drew Allar, who seems like he's ready to really hit his stride and really put it all together this year. We see the talent. We know he can spin it. We know he can move. We know he looks the part. Now to have receivers who can get open, and allow him not just have Singleton and Katron Allen, but not have Tyler Warren only to focus on. Tyler Warren's with Indianapolis, right? Now we're going to team them up, right? We're going to team them back again, right? If we go this route with your mock draft. But now in terms of Penn State, there's no dependent upon 100-plus catch Tyler Warren. Now we can spread the wealth, and we get the ball down the field to multiple receivers and have slot guys that can get open underneath and get those yards after catch. So I'm excited to see whether it all comes together for Drew Allar. And not only does he go in the top 10 field, does he go number 1 overall?
That's possible. Yeah, it's possible, Mel. It's possible.
You got to wait and see on Arch. We have to see if he's coming out or not. He would have one of the fewest starts of all the quarterbacks. Few starts doesn't lead to success in the NFL that often. Cam Newton also had starts at Blinn Junior College, would have got that number up higher. But you go to Trubisky and Trey Lance and Sanchez, and I can go on and on.
Richardson himself.
Yeah, exactly. So to me, Drew Allar, everything sets up to be for Penn State what it was for Michigan a few years ago when J.J. McCarthy led them to a national title. Last year, everybody went back. Ohio State had Will Howard under center. They win a national title despite 2 losses. Here we have Penn State, who is loaded on both sides of the ball. But nice to have Abdul Carter, but they don't. Just denied Dennis-Sutton going to be that guy, right? Yeah. They got talent at every level, but on offense in particular, Drew Allar, if you could draw up the perfect quarterback from just the look standpoint, physical ability, and now he's been there now. Could have come out, decided to go back, which I thought was a smart move. Now instead of being a potential first-round pick, now I think there's a chance he's not even on the board here. And is Shane Steichen, with this whole Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson thing going on there, it's going to be Daniel Jones open the season. Shane Steichen hasn't been to the playoffs. 2 years, no playoffs, right? Yeah. This is a pivotal year for him. So at the Colts, who's going to be making that pick? Okay, next year.
This is a fair question. Mel, there are a lot of questions surrounding this franchise, but generally speaking, when you don't have certainty at quarterback going into this year, much less beyond this year, it makes you a prime quarterback shopper. Drew Allar, by the way, I think it's important to think of quarterbacks this way, Mel, at this juncture. You and I are having this conversation before week 1. All right, week 0 is the only college football action that we have had. You have to think of quarterbacks through this prism. Do they have the starter kit of tools that could, if they put them all together, lead to being a player that it goes very, very high in the draft? Drew Allar does have that starter kit of tools. He's got the rocket arm. He's got the elite size. He's got some mobility. He's got experience. He's got big game experience at that. He's got pedigree. That being said, as you know, I want to see Drew put it all together a little bit more, and there's really no excuse not to this year, given all the talent he has around him. We're not going to make every pick 11 through 32, Mel, but we're going to move forward to pick number 12. And with the 12th pick in the 2026 Field Yates Mock Draft 1.0, the Cleveland Browns, in this case via the Jacksonville Jaguars as part of the Travis Hunter trade, take Austin Barber, offensive tackle, University of Florida. Mel, I'll give you my explanation here and some thoughts on the player briefly. I'll see what you think from there. But if the Browns do take a quarterback, number 1 overall, which was my thought process, what's the most important thing you can do when you take a young quarterback? Surround him with quality infrastructure, a capable offensive mind as the coordinator, sometimes an offensive head coach, a strong offensive line, a good running game, good weapons around him, whatever it takes to make this player comfortable. I am in favor of doing that. Jack Conklin goes into this season as probably a mystery beyond 2025 in Cleveland. This is a team that has some offensive line questions this year, Mel. Austin Barber, big athletic tackle from Florida, who has experience on both sides of the ball, meaning left and right tackle, to me would be the kind of player that merits first-round conversation. And with the 13th pick in the 2026 Field Yates Mock Draft 1.0, the Dallas Cowboys select, Mel, Caleb Banks, defensive tackle from Florida, began his college career at Louisville. Big, powerful player who dominated Ole Miss late last season with 2.5 sacks in a single game, Mel. He's one of those guys that can really turn it on as a rusher, and he could certainly help a Dallas Cowboys team that may be one of the thinnest amongst run defenders in all of the NFL on paper going into this season. The Cowboys need to get tougher on both sides of the ball. Mel, Caleb Banks would help that.
Yeah, Banks certainly would. No doubt about that. I think the one player that I think we saw, you talk about the offensive line, that I didn't comment about is Caden Proctor. I want to see where Caden Proctor, the offensive tackle from Alabama, where you have him coming off the board. I'm a little higher on Proctor than some other people are. Gets to that second level. People question some things about Proctor, but I think he can keep that frame between the defensive end and the quarterback, and I think he can get after you in the run game. So for me, I want to see where Proctor, offensive tackle Alabama, is coming off the board.
But the Cowboys, in this case, they have recently drafted a lot of offensive linemen. Tyler Guyton, of course, they have Tyler Smith, a Pro Bowl type guard. They just drafted Tyler Booker. So I felt like for the Cowboys, defensive tackle, a bigger need. Again, we're not going to go through every pick here. So let's just rip through a couple of picks. At number 14, the Cardinals select Miami offensive tackle Francis Mauigoa. His younger brother was a linebacker who went in the 5th round of the Jets this past year. And the Dolphins select another sibling from the NFL. They take Clemson cornerback Avion Terrell. Mel, he is the younger brother of A.J. Terrell, the excellent player for the Atlanta Falcons. Miami, going into the season, is paper thin at cornerback.
Yeah, I think the teams, it's more of the players because you don't know what the needs are going to be, and certainly in August. But I think when you look at McCoy, the cornerback from Tennessee, if he were healthy, he would certainly be way up there. We have to see when he's coming back from the injury at Tennessee this year. A.J. Harris, cornerback from Penn State's another kid. It's going to be interesting to see. But Terrell, Clemson has, I think, an opportunity to win a national title.
I do
when
too.
You have Woods and you have Parker, and you got the linebackers Brown and Woodaz, and then you go to a cornerback like Terrell, and then you think about the offense with Klubnik and company because they got a lot of weapons at wide receiver to throw to, and an offensive line, it should be pretty good. This Clemson team is going to have a lot of guys in big-time evaluation games, because I really think they have a chance to have an 11-12 win season. I know the over-under is in Vegas in that 9.5, 10.5 range, but I think I've said it along. I think Penn State, Texas, and Clemson are your three best teams.
Those are the three. Yeah.
And we'll see how it goes for Clemson, but I'm with you on Terrell. I'm with you on these Clemson Tigers. You're going to see a lot of these guys go pretty early in the draft.
Well, Mel, the first test for Clemson this season is this weekend against the LSU Tigers. And with the 16th pick in the 2026 Field Yates Mock Draft 1.0, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Garrett Nussmeier, quarterback, LSU. Mel, we don't have to explain too deep in terms of why the Steelers will be taking a quarterback here. Aaron Rodgers signed to a one-year deal. He has already stated this is likely the last year he will play professional football. The Steelers need an infusion of talent at that spot going forward. Let's talk about Nussmeier, though, Mel, who, by the way, LSU recently announced will wear number 18 this year. At LSU, 18 is one of the jersey numbers that is the ultimate sign of respect. Notable players that have worn that jersey in the past include, of course, longtime star fullback Jacob Hester, many others as well. But Garrett Nussmeier, Mel, you and I have had the conversation about our top quarterbacks. I have explained how I have some reservations about whether Garrett Nussmeier will creep into the top half of the first round. He is this elite point guard type quarterback, right? He knows where to put the ball, how to put the football there, throws with touch and accuracy and anticipation, Mel. He has what I would describe as just okay athletic ability. Brian Kelly, the head coach of Notre Dame, did also reveal recently that he has chronic patella tendonitis, Mel. That's not good. As you know, they evaluate medical stuff as closely during the pre-draft process as they do basically anywhere in the world of sports. That being said, Mel, the good outweighs the bad by quite a bit for Garrett Nussmeier. And if he has a big year this upcoming season for LSU, then I certainly think if he has a big year and a couple of these quarterbacks we have talked about end up returning to college, the likes of Arch and Lenora Sellers have multiple years left of eligibility, then I do think Nussmeier has a chance to go in the first round.
Yeah, a little older. The other quarterbacks coming into the NFL draft, you will be in April. Son of Doug Nussmeier, offensive coordinator with New Orleans. We talked about Garrett. Garrett is a heck of a quarterback. What he needs to do is just manage the game. And we talk about interceptions. I go to Shador. Shador doesn't throw interceptions, right? Yep. You know, Garrett Nussmeier put the ball in harm's way a little too much, at least for my liking. You think about where he is for this year. New cast of characters, new guys. How will we get on the same page with Berrien Brown and Anderson, a young tight end, Green, Bauer Sharp coming in from Oklahoma. There's a lot of speed, a lot of talent. A lot of athleticism at the skill positions. The offensive line is completely rebuilt. And you're talking about the Clemson Tigers with Woods and Parker and company. That's a heck of a matchup because you would think that in this game on Saturday, Garrett Nussmeier is going to be pressured a little bit. How does he deal with it? How does he force it? How does he throw ball away, take sacks? What happens to Garrett Nussmeier in this game when he's going to be under duress because that rebuilt offensive line is going to have to deal with Woods and Parker, not only those guys, but Capehart and Burley and Helt. That's a talent-laden defensive front for the Clemson Tigers against an offensive line that doesn't have Will Campbell and Emory Jones and Dellinger and Frazier anymore.
Yeah, 4 drafted offensive linemen last year for LSU. It is a gigantic test. Mel, you, of course, recall that last year at the beginning of the season, we kind of rode the wave with Quinn Ewers, right? The talk after the Michigan game, which was, at the time, considered a signature win. Michigan obviously proved to be a very average team, especially on offense last year. Well, they were below average on offense. But it was like, wow, Quinn Ewers had first round tape in that game. Quinn, of course, ends up going in the 7th round, so a far cry from that first round. I am going to go out on a limb and say that Garrett Nussmeier is the quarterback who we ride the wave of early in the season. Because if LSU does not win against Clemson, and I will not be picking LSU to win that game. As a matter of fact, Clemson could have quite a handy win there this weekend, Mel. It may take some of the sort of the bloom off the rose for Garrett Nussmeier. That being said, long season. So I think there's a chance he goes in the first round, Mel, but I do have some question marks. It seems like we are aligned on that. The Bears at number 17 select Jermod McCoy, Tennessee cornerback, you talked about the injury, Mel, tore his ACL in January. If that had not happened, he probably was going in the first 8 picks, 10 at worst for me. That's how good of a player he is for the Tennessee Volunteers. The Vikings select Northwestern edge Anto Saka. He is the traits guy, Mel. He had okay production last year. It's not quite at the level of Shamar Stewart in terms of the raw traits, but very, very explosive edge rusher. And at 19, the Packers select Oregon edge Mateo Uyunglele. He is, of course, the younger brother of DJ, now a depth quarterback, or has been a depth quarterback for the Chargers throughout training camp. But let's get to pick number 20, Mel. And with the 20th pick in the Field Yates Mock Draft 1.0, the Denver Broncos select Jordyn Tyson, wide receiver, Arizona State. Mel, I'll just start here. I know you say it's not really that much about what the teams do because needs change so much between now and next April. This roster's pretty good here, Mel. Like, I was having a hard time finding a spot where they really needed to address. So I said, why not give a quarterback one more weapon? And they find themselves a big, versatile pass catcher in Jordyn Tyson.
Talented kid. He wasn't even there for the final 2 games of last year. And Sam Levitt, obviously back at quarterback. Obviously no Cam Scatteraboo, but they got some guys who can run the football. Arizona State's a good football team. And Kenny Dillingham's a heck of a coach. And now you have Jordyn Tyson. Look what he was doing before he was injured in that Arizona game with the shoulder. He was lighting it up. He was red hot over the final 5-6 games when he was healthy. You know, he's got size. He certainly has the ability to stretch the field vertically. It makes the consistent catches, makes the tough catches look routine at times. Jordyn Tyson's a good football player, no doubt about that. And for Bo Nix, an emerging potential superstar in this league, we'll see if he can do it. Going off like Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix, what they were able to do, pretty incredible. So I think when you look at Jordyn Tyson for Arizona State's offense, and Sam Levitt, who you've already had going, I believe, in the top 10.
Number 9.
Draft. That's going to happen. And Sam Levitt he's only 20 years of age right now. He'll be 21 come the draft. If Sam Levitt's going to go into this draft after 2 years as a starting quarterback and lead Arizona State to another great year, where they're not going to shock people anymore. As they say, they're not the hunter, they're the hunted now, right? How do they deal with that? But Jordyn Tyson, if he's putting up those numbers and Levitt's getting the ball to him, they both are going to go very high in the draft.
Yeah, Tyson, Mel, has really good size. We mentioned that. I mentioned the versatility as well. You'll see him line up in the slot. You'll see him play in the perimeter, of course. And he's really comfortable with the football in his hands. He began his college career at Colorado. He was there for 1 season. He was a punt returner on top of being a wide receiver for Colorado and, of course, now Arizona State. But you don't see many guys with his stature handling punt return duties. Just a testament to how comfortable he is with the football anywhere around his vicinity. With the 21st pick in the 2026 Field Yates Mock Draft 1.0, the Houston Texans select a player, Mel, that I think might be way higher ranked than 21st overall by the time we get to April 23rd of 2026. That is Notre Dame running back Jeremiyah Love. Mel, once again, we're going to have the conversation all throughout the pre-draft process about how high you should take a running back, but this year we had 2 more taken in the first round, including Ashton Jeanty, all the way up to pick number 6. You, of course, follow Notre Dame football as close as any college football program, Mel. I don't need to tell you how great this kid is. This is a special, special player. Incredibly versatile, outstanding, and I mean outstanding athlete who is a real weapon in the passing game. The Texans could use him right now, given how thin their running back room is and Joe Mixon's injury. But, oh boy, this kid can go.
He's spectacular, right? You think about now, Riley Leonard's gone. Now, what is C.J. Carr? Out Kenny Minchie for the quarterback job, right? Is he going to solidify that position? Are they going to have balance? Okay, to allow the defense to really respect the passing game. And they got a new look receiving core there as well. Eli Raridon's going to be the tight end. You think about what we have now running the football. Would love you have depth there behind him. 2 other backs that are really good. So are they going to be one-dimensional? Or are they going to be able to throw the football effectively to get that defense to back off a little bit in terms of in the box? And that'll allow Love to have that great year and maybe a top 10 to 15 pick. I'm not one that always says running backs in the first round, but on grade, you're right, Field. On grade and on ability, Jeremiyah Love, with the way he can catch the ball, he runs hard, he's got bounce, he's got electrifying skills. I love the kid. Love. No
Yep.
question about it. With Jeremiyah Love, to see him dropping down this was about where Amarion Hampton came off the board to the Chargers. I thought he was going to be a Bronco. He becomes a Charger, right? So you're thinking he can get down to the Hampton range. I thought Hampton would go a little bit earlier. He didn't. He dropped it around that 20 spot. So maybe it can happen. Running backs do tend to drop in this draft because people kind of bought into my philosophy a bit, where you maybe get the sixth player on the board down the line just a bit in Jeremiyah Love.
Yeah, Mel, I just think that at this time of the year, running back is rarely a team's top need that's picking in the first like 10 or 15 picks, right? It's so obviously going to be quarterback or wide receiver or pass protector or pass rusher. But Love is definitely the truth. All right, we'll keep things rolling here, Mel, with the 22nd pick and the 2026 Field Yates Mock Draft 1.0. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers take Dani Dennis-Sutton. You mentioned him, the pass rusher from Penn State here, Mel. Big, physical, powerful rusher. And the Buccaneers are hopeful to be a whole lot better rushing the passer and defending the pass this upcoming season, Mel. They signed Hassan Reddick, who kind of went into witness protection program last year with the Jets. A guy who has some rush ability. We'll see if he puts it all together for Tampa Bay once again this year. But one of their draft picks that they utilized to help beef up that defensive front, David Walker out of Central Arkansas, tore his ACL, so he's going to have to redshirt this upcoming year. I'm just looking at a team that I think at its core would like to see more natural rush because their head coach, Todd Bowles, is unafraid to dial up some blitz some pressures, but I think he also wants to have a scenario where he doesn't have to send 6 guys to get home and make a quarterback uncomfortable. So tonight, Dennis-Sutton, the next man up in a long lineage of great pass rushers to come from Penn State.
Yeah, and Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator, is going to obviously ask him to be and make up for not having Abdul Carter. So he's going to have to be the focal point, the centerpiece of this defense coming off the edge. And a guy that certainly has talent, watched him throughout his career as well, local kid from this area. So Dani Dennis-Sutton, they have some quality defensive tackles as well. Tony Rojas is a 4.35 linebacker flying around. You got Wheatley, you got Harris. This defense at every level. We talk about Clemson's defense at every level having NFL players. So do the Nittany Lions. At every level have guys who are going to be playing in the National Football League. So that's why they're my pick to win a national title. It'll be 3 straight years for the Big Ten with Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. But it's going to be fun to see whether they can maximize all this talent. Second year of Colt Nickey. Jim Knowles comes in after winning a national title at Ohio State, trying to do it at Penn State. Dani Dennis-Sutton. He's not Abdul Carter. He's not that kind of
definitely not
player. He's solid. He's a guy solid in all areas. He's not going to be, I think, a 10 to 12 sack a year guy in the NFL, but he could probably get you in that 7 to 10 range, hopefully, and certainly is worthy of being in the first round discussion.
Yeah, Penn State has a couple of defensive linemen along with Zane Durant, their defensive tackle, who will generate a lot of interest from scouts this upcoming season. All right, we're going to get back with picks 25 and 26 in a minute, Mel, but a quick rip through on 23 and 24. The 49ers take Boston College offensive tackle Jude Bowery at 23, Mel. We thought they might be in the offensive tackle market this year at number 11. They ended up taking Mykel Williams. At 24, the Bengals select Caden Proctor, the Alabama offensive tackle that you discussed earlier. You're higher on Proctor, Mel. The big question that I need to see answered from Caden Proctor this upcoming year is he athletic enough? Is this guy going to be able to handle premium edge rushers just finding a way to tear around the edge? Because as we know, while the SEC is as good as it gets, or about as good as it gets for college football, those NFL athletes are just a different beast coming off the edge. Let's get to pick number 25. And with the 25th pick in the 2026 Field Yates Mock Draft 1.0, the Washington Commanders select Germie Bernard, wide receiver, Alabama. This was one of my favorite picks to make in the mock, Mel, because Bernard had a really solid year last year. He led Alabama in a couple of notable receiving categories, but I feel like there's a chance that Bernard takes it to a whole different level this upcoming season. Bernard began his college career at Michigan State. Then he goes to Washington, where he was part of that wide receiver room that had Rome Odunze, Jalen Polk, Jalen McMillan, all drafted in rounds 1, 2, and then 3. So there was just a ton of depth. Goes to Alabama last year. It wasn't a super elite passing offense with Jalen Milroe, Mel. This is a player who, when he has the football in his hands, is very difficult to catch up to. He is explosive is Germie Bernard.
Yeah, I think under-publicized for the type of solid player, consistent player he is. Ty Simpson's a quarterback at Alabama.
Yep.
You can imagine that Ty Simpson, he can move. And this is he sat around, he's watched. He had a chance to be the starter, wasn't able to basically become a consistent quarterback there. Had the one opportunity, and that was back to Jalen Milroe. So this is his time to shine. for Ty Simpson. We've seen Alabama win with A.J. McCarron national titles, with Jacob Coker, with Greg McElroy. The list goes on and on of quarterbacks that have done really well and have won national titles that didn't have the elite first round, second round grade. So this is a kid, Bernard, a little surprised though, feel that I have not yet heard Nick Harbor, South Carolina wide receiver, or Denzel Boston, Washington Husky. You talk about Bernard was a Husky. Denzel Boston is now as well. So a couple other receivers could be certainly in the mix to be first round. I'm with you on Bernard. You get the ball in his area, he's going to make the catch. Consistent guy, hard worker, reliable football player.
Yeah, just to establish a baseline on a couple of the guys you mentioned, Mel, because the college football season is finally here. I thought about Denzel Boston. Not sure there's premium speed there, but he is outstanding in the red zone. I thought just some of the contested catch skills really shined for him last year. And Washington finally found its quarterback late last season, and it wouldn't surprise me if they're much better this year. Nick Harbor, Mel, I'll probably be a little bit late to the party. He is maybe the most athletic player in college football. On the short list, at the very least, he was, you said 1, and then 3 on Bruce Feldman's Freaks list, which he writes every year for The Athletic. Special athlete, Mel. More of an athlete than a football player, at least in my eyes, at this juncture. I'm going to get to the next pick here, Mel, which is with the 26th pick in the 2026 Field Yates Mock Draft 1.0. The Chargers select Chandler Rivers, corner from Duke. And Mel, I might have gotten a little bit ahead of myself on this one, only because it's this archetype is not always the kind of player that ends up going in the first round, like not premier size here for Chandler Rivers. This kid is tough, he's versatile, he's got great ball skills, and he just flat out can cover, Mel. He makes plays all over the place for that Duke defense. And again, when we're talking about teams that might have, the 8 last picks in the mock draft, there's not a lot of holes in these rosters to fill, but the Chargers could use a bit more corner depth.
Yeah, the size is the issue, but as a football player, he is arguably as good as a pure football player as any of the guys at that position, and certainly has the knack, has instincts, awareness. Like he closes quickly. He sees things before they even happen.
Yeah.
So for Chandler Rivers, I'm with you on the football player, worthy of first round consideration. Will the size be an issue that pushes him down a little bit? But I'll tell you what, again, he'll probably have a grade for me. I don't know about for you, Field. Obviously, you got him in the first round, so you're hearing some things there, and you think we saw some things could indicate that. Maybe his grade's a little higher, maybe gets pushed down, becomes a real good value pick. But no question for the Duke Blue Devils, Chandler Rivers, he could be a star anywhere in college football. He's an elite talent. Like I said, I love the way he plays the game of football. Yeah,
he just is a fun football player to watch. And Mel, we've seen a couple of these guys who ended up going too late in the draft because their size that immediately. Have you heard the way that the 49ers talking about Upton Stout, Mel? It was the third day of OTAs, and Kyle Shanahan was like, I freaking love this guy. Like, I have no idea how we got him where he did. I don't know if he actually said that, but that was almost what I could hear when Kyle Shanahan said that.
And we know why. We also the LTP. Are you an LTP or are you just a heck of a football player?
Yeah.
And Chandler Rivers, like Upton Stout, just really good football players. And again, that's why we're talking about day 3 guys. That's why we're there on day 3 Field when a lot of these guys go. And they're trying to be better than some of the guys went a lot earlier. So you downgrade some of them because they don't fit the physical qualifications in terms of the way you draw them up. But if you just watch the tape, they jump out at you. And Chandler Rivers, when you watch Duke, jumps out at you as their best player on that side of the ball.
All right, let's get through a couple more picks over a full screen. The Rams at number 27 select Georgia corner Dalen Everett, expected to have even more responsibility this season after tying for the team lead in interceptions last year. The Baltimore Ravens, Mel, select a former Georgia corner in Penn State corner A.J. Harris. You said that Penn State's got talent at all 3 levels. They've got talent in the secondary as well. Which brings us to the last pick that we will discuss. I'll just read through the final 3 after this. With the 29th pick in the 2026 Field Yates Mock Draft 1.0, the Detroit Lions select Sonny Styles, linebacker from Ohio State here, Mel, a former safety who moved to linebacker full-time last year. He had 6 sacks. I mean, you talk about a souped-up athlete with really good range. No surprise. He's a former safety, of course. Sonny Styles is in for a huge year for Ohio State in my estimation, and I have come to appreciate that no matter who you mock to the Lions in the first round, Mel, if you like the player, it's a justified pick because the Lions have showed us under their outstanding GM Brad Holmes that if he likes a player, he doesn't care where the guy's going in the mock draft. He is taking guys that he believes in.
We just talked about guys that are the LTPers. That is Sonny Styles, no question. And now, as he settles in to this position, and Matt Patricia is the defensive coordinator, right?
Yep.
So there was an adjustment period for Sonny Styles. Now, in year 2, this defense is completely different. It's Styles, it's Caleb Downs, it's Igbenogson, and a lot of new guys that have played but haven't been guys. Jack Sawyer, Tio Mololau, Ty Hamilton, Tyleek Williams, Simon, Hancock, Burke. Ransom, all gone to the NFL. That's a lot of talent. Those are 8 guys gone. 3 returned. He's one of those 3, with Downs being spectacular. Downs going probably top 5, top 10, and certainly Sonny Styles. I'd be a little surprised. The Lions are my pick to play my Baltimore Ravens in the Super Bowl.
I like it, Mel.
I got Detroit, Baltimore in the Super Bowl. You got to pick. I think they're going to be picking 31 or 32. Baltimore's going to be right there. I got Penn State beating Texas for the national title, with maybe Penn State's Tony Rojas intercepting Arch Manning as they drive. I talked about that last week, but I had the Lions in the Super Bowl with the Ravens, and like I say, I don't think I would just make a prediction right now. In year 2 at that spot, I don't think Sonny Styles, the kind of year he's expected to have and the kind of talent he possesses, is around late in the first round. I think he'll go as maybe in the top 15.
Yeah, we will see, Mel. By the way, good idea, Joe G. Maybe next week we'll do our NFL predictions for the upcoming season to wrap up the show. To wrap up this show, Mel, I'm going to read the final 3 picks. Again, the order determined by the Football Power Index over at ESPN. The Chiefs continue their offensive line investments with Oregon offensive tackle Isaiah World. He comes from Nevada as a transfer this offseason. Very athletic, needs to add some weight. The Eagles select Clemson offensive tackle Blake Miller. Mel, he's been a full-time right tackle for largely a full-time right tackle for Cade Klubnik, another guy who could flat out move. And finally, the Bills, who the FPI has going all the way to the Super Bowl and beating the Eagles, takes USC wide receiver Jacoby Lane, player who had more touchdown catches as a sophomore last year, 12, than he did total catches as a freshman, when he had just 7 catches as a true freshman. Very good contested catch ability. We'll see how it looks this year in that USC offense that simply needs to be better, because that program needs to reassert its dominance under Lincoln Riley. All right, Mel, quick thought here. Is there anything that really stood out to you in picks 11-32 that caught your eye for one reason or another?
I don't talk about Proctor, I think higher. Aller, I think higher. But guys, I just wrote down, we talked about Nick Harbor in Boston. Gabe Akis, edge guy out of Illinois. Yep. Prime for a heck of a year.
He's going to have a big year. He is tough and physical, isn't he?
Yeah. And when you got a guy that can get after the quarterback like him, so Suntarine Perkins, a kid who can play anywhere, can get after the quarterback, and make plays out of Ole Miss. You talked about him a little bit. And then Kenyon Sadiq. I just think when you're that talented at Oregon, you got the new quarterback stepping in, Dante Moore. You got Kenyon Sadiq, who is a down the field threat. He's an incredible athlete.
Incredible.
Phenomenal talent. Yeah. I think this kid is primed for we thought what Tyler Warren accomplished with over 100 catches. Yep. I'm getting Sadiq the ball 7 to 10 times a game. Yeah. He's got to touch the ball 7 to 10 times in the game. He's got to be targeted. If he has that kind of year, Kenyon Sadiq is a lock first-round pick. Yeah, Sadiq obviously had to sit behind Terrence Ferguson last year. Plus, they had a lot of receivers that were doing great work. Tez Johnson was obviously a very busy wideout amongst others there, Mel. But he is not just he's an LTPer to the max, because that kid can certainly move with the football in his hands. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of First Draft. Don't forget to scan that QR code, like and subscribe to the podcast, and tune in every Wednesday on the NFL on ESPN YouTube channel, ESPN2, and wherever you get your podcasts. And do not forget to send us your questions using the hashtag FirstDraft for a chance to be featured on the program. For Mel, I am Field. We'll talk to you all again next week when, how about this? We will have a full Saturday of college football to react to. We cannot wait. Enjoy week 1, everybody. We'll talk to you all again next week.